And we're back. After several weeks of, we'll call it a vacation. I mean, it wasn't technically a vacation, but we'll call it a vacation. After a couple of weeks of vacation, courtesy of spending a little bit of time in YouTube jail, which, by the way, I was found innocent, gratefully. We're back. We're back with Free Advice Friday. I have missed you guys. I was looking back, and it's like the middle of May, I think, when we did the last one of these. So, it's good to be back. Hopefully, some of you will find me and join me because I know it's been a while. What is going on? We're celebrating Canada Day today here in Canada. National holiday, but I'm still in the office getting some things done today, and looking forward to spending a little bit of time with you and answering your questions on Free Advice Friday. So, for those of you that are new to the whole experience of Free Advice Friday, pretty simple stuff. If you've got a question that you would like to get answered, you can type it into the comments, and it will pop up on my screen. And I will answer your question for you. That's pretty much the gist of Free Advice Friday. So for the next little while, that is what I am here for. I'm here to hang out and to answer your questions. And like I said, it feels good to be back. By the way, I just want to say, when my YouTube channel was initially shut down, the amount of support that I received from you guys was incredibly overwhelming. And I could not respond to every message because I literally received hundreds of messages of support. And so I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your sharing your frustrations, or sharing my frustrations, I guess, basically is what you were doing. I want you to know that I do appreciate that. It meant a lot. Thankfully, I was able to go through the YouTube appeals process, and they did determine that, in fact, I had not done anything wrong. Here we are. We're back. We're back for Free Advice Friday. So if you have a voiceover question that you would like to get answered, type it into the comments. As I mentioned, that will pop up on my screen, and let's do it. Let's do Free Advice Friday. Let's get some questions answered. Let's dispense some advice for freely. Let's spend a little bit of time hanging out, and there may or may not be an appearance from the Boo at some point during Free Advice Friday. So just mentioning that for those of you that are actually just here to see her, because I know that that's what a lot of you just show up for. So what's going on? Have you checked out the new episode of the podcast? VOpreneur.com is where the new episode of the podcast is at, or of course, wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. This week, we're talking about directed sessions, giving you some tips for directed sessions. I know that for a lot of voice actors, directed sessions can be a source of stress. They can be a source of anxiety. What if my internet doesn't work? What if I don't know how to do Source Connect? What if there's a strange noise? What if an airplane flies over? Whatever it is. And so even though directed sessions really should actually make our lives easier, just because of the fact that we have an opportunity to work directly with the client, they get to tell us exactly what they're looking for. And usually it reduces the need for any kind of revisions or anything like that. So even though they're technically a good thing for a lot of voice actors, they are a great source of stress and fear and anxiety, particularly if it's not something that you do a lot of. And so that's what the new episode of the podcast is all about. It is tips for having a better directed session, because I think there are some things that you can do that can make the process a little bit easier and a little bit less intimidating for you. So that is the latest summer series episode of the podcast. If you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, do that. If you're doing Source Connect, Skype, Zoom, Google Hangouts, whatever it is, although I think I read somewhere that Google Hangouts was going away. But anyway, whatever you may be doing for directed sessions, don't let them stress you out. It definitely doesn't have to be that way. Welcome in. Thanks for watching. It is so good to be back. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be back. So again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. This is the part of the week where I hang out live on YouTube, and I'm just here to answer your questions. If there is a business and marketing related voiceover question that you would like to get answered, then please, by all means, type that question into the comments. I am watching the comments on my screen. And I am absolutely here and absolutely willing to answer any questions that you've got that I feel like I can actually offer an intelligent answer to. So don't be shy, take advantage of it. It's basically like getting a free coaching session with me. So ask away, whatever you want to know. Amy says, I recently decided to transition to Adobe Audition from Twisted Wave for the multi-track purposes and wondered your advice about where to learn everything I need to know about the DAW. Amy, great question. I've been using Adobe for a very long time. I was actually using Adobe before it was Adobe. I was using it back in the day when it was still called Cool Edit. So, that's going back a while. Fantastic software, a lot of things that it can do for you. There's a lot of little tricks and tips and features that even I thought I knew everything, but I ultimately discovered. So I'll tell you right now, my best advice would be to reach out to Uncle Roy. Uncle Roy of Antland Productions. Uncle Roy is an Adobe guru. And even for me, having used the software for many, many years and all throughout my broadcasting career, I still reached out to Uncle Roy and booked, he calls it his life-changing Adobe Audition session. That's actually, that's what we decided to coin it, was Uncle Roy's life-changing Adobe Audition session. But basically what he will do is for about 2 hours, give or take, he's just going to take control of your system and he is going to set up Adobe Audition with everything that you need so that you literally just push a button, push a button, push a button, you're done. Yes, he does support Mac. That's what I work on is Mac, and he can absolutely do it. So what he will do probably is listen to your audio. You get, record some audio in your space or whatever. He'll listen to your audio. He'll set up some processing stuff for you, just some basic stuff. Build in some hotkeys. Probably teach you a little bit about multi-track and punch and roll and make sure that he teaches you about spectral view. Spectral view will absolutely change your life. Probably one of the greatest things that I ever learned was spectral view, and that was something that I had never heard of until I worked with Uncle Roy. So I would absolutely recommend to learn Adobe. I mean, yes, you could go on YouTube. There's probably all kinds of YouTube videos you could watch. There is an Adobe Audition community group on Facebook. You could probably go in there as well. I would say, though, if you have the budget for it, and I can't tell you exactly what it costs, but if you've got the budget for it, 2 hours spent with Uncle Roy is going to be the equivalent of probably 20 hours spent on your own trying to figure out some of this stuff. And so I would say 100% connect with him. Normally, he shows up for Free Advice Friday, but let me give you... I'm going to just get his website for you. Just please stand by. Please stand by. I'm looking it up right now. There it is. Here's his website. That's his website. You can contact him through the website. Tell him that Marc reached out to you. So tell him that you heard about it on Free Advice Friday. And I know that he would absolutely take good care of you if that is the way that you decide to go. And I do think that is absolutely. I mean, it's hands down, it is the easiest way to learn the software. So that would be my advice on that. Let's see, where else are we going? Lori says the best money I've spent throughout this learning process, and that's it. And he's a fantastic guy. He knows the software inside out and backwards. He loves working with voice actors. He's passionate about helping us to produce better sound and have better audio and be more efficient with our editing and all of those sorts of things. And so, I mean, it really is his sweet spot. So definitely worth reaching out to him. Michael says, what are some good voiceover agencies? I just got accepted by Idiom and I'm looking to try to get more agencies. Yeah, there's a lot of different voiceover agencies. Some are better than others. Some are more legitimate than others. So you do have to be careful. A couple of things that you'd want to take into consideration when you're signing up with a legitimate voiceover agency. You should never have to pay to be on their roster. Any agent that is charging you money to be on their roster, I would immediately question the legitimacy of that agency because that is not a standard practice. Generally speaking, there's no cost to be represented. The only cost to you would be through the commissions for the voiceover work that you have booked. So that's definitely one thing that I would be looking out for. I'm going to put a link in the chat here This is a really amazing resource that was put together by Voice Actor Websites, Joe and Karen of Voice Actor Websites. And it is a directory or a database of voiceover agencies. Check that link out, go through there. And I think it would be pretty safe to say that any of the agencies that are listed in this directory that Joe and Karen have put together are probably legitimate agencies. They do a really great job of curating all of this content. So there's certainly a lot of options out there for you if you're looking to collect some representation. The other thing that I would say to be very cautious of is just making sure that you're spreading out your representation, right? You don't want a bunch of different agents that are all in kind of the same geographic region because you're going to see a lot of repeats on work. You're going to get the same scripts from several agents at a time, and then you're going to have the awkward conversation of telling somebody who you're going to submit for. You know, I'll submit for this agent, but I'm not submitting for you, and here's why I'm not submitting for you. And you know, those conversations can sometimes be a little bit awkward. So I would say just make sure that you're kind of spreading yourself out a little bit. You know, somebody up in the Northwest, somebody in the Midwest, somebody on the East Coast, maybe somebody on the West Coast, somebody kind of in the central region or something like that. The other thing too, that, and I know this isn't part of what you asked, but I always do say to voice actors too, be realistic about your expectations for agents. There's a survey that was done in 2020 for the state of the voiceover industry. They're currently in the process of putting together the results for the 2021 survey. But in 2020, there was, I want to say, around 1,500 voice actors that were surveyed, and something like 40% of voice actors said that agents represented 0% of their income. And there was about another 20%, give or take, that said that an agent represents, 1 to 10% of their income. And so just have realistic expectations. It's great to get agents. You're going to get exposure to audition opportunities that you would otherwise not be able to get on your own. But at the end of the day, you've still got to be able to get out there and find your own work, whether that's doing your own direct marketing, maybe mixing a couple of casting sites in there as well. But always be prepared to get out there and do your own work. All right. Thanks for the questions, guys. Again, this is Free Advice Friday. If you do have a question that you would like to get answered, type it in the comments. I will do my best to answer them for you. John says, any tips on marketing your VO to other countries like Singapore? I think, John, there's a couple of things I would say. First and foremost, familiarize yourself with the market a little bit and know that not all countries and rates and economies are created equal. The GVAA is a beautiful, wonderful rate guide for the United States. GVAA rates are not going to apply in a lot of other countries in the world. And so you need to understand that. And part of the reason why they're not going to apply the same way in other countries in the world is because economies are not all the same. And so that's definitely something to think about. So I would be strategic where I'm marketing from an overseas standpoint based on rates and the potential for earning. I have found countries, there are several European countries that I work with that pay very fair rates. Germany, absolutely being one of them. There's countries in the Middle East that I've gotten fair rates from as well. I work with a couple of different clients from Dubai. So there's definitely an opportunity to make good money out there. There's definitely an opportunity to get fair rates from other countries. But I definitely want to do a little bit of research on that up front. The other thing I would say is always be cognizant of what time it is there. You do not want to be the voice actor that markets to them and sends them an email that goes off on their phone at 2 o'clock in the morning because you weren't paying attention to the time zone. And so I definitely think there's something to be said for that. I also think there's something to be said for figuring out how they communicate. So, for example, in Central and South American countries, a lot of them don't really do email marketing. They're all about WhatsApp, and the vast majority of the communication takes place on WhatsApp. I've noticed that with certain countries in the Middle East as well, that they will do email, but they would prefer to do WhatsApp. And so paying attention to things like that can be really important as well, because it can help you to make sure that you're communicating with them in the way that they want to be communicated with. There is somebody who has now come into the studio who wants to come and say hello. I know this is the moment that many of you have been waiting for. Some of you haven't got to see her for quite a while. Come here, Kaylee Boo. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Say hi. Say hello, everybody. Say hello. Hello. Say hello. Are you going to say hello?
Hi.
Hi. Wave to everybody. Say hello.
Hi.
Hello. You just want to play with the microphone. Hey, you want to play with the microphone. Say hello, everybody. You wave hello to everybody?
Hi.
Say hello.
Ah,
Are you a happy baby?
happy bee.
Happy baby. Hey? She just finished her pizza and now she's ready for her nap. But you don't want a nap, do you? No.
This.
No. Hey, baby.
This.
Hey?
This.
Say hello, baby. Can you wave? Can you wave? Oh, you just want to play with the pen? All right. Daddy's gonna go back. Hey, you say bye-bye? Say bye-bye. Hey? You say bye-bye? You wave bye-bye? You blow kiss? You blow kiss? Uh-oh. Give me my pen. Give Daddy his pen. All right, you take the pen. Hey, you got a kiss? Mwah. Say bye-bye. Wave bye-bye. Yeah? All right. Thanks for coming. Say bye-bye. She's too fascinated by the pen now. Okay.
Kiss, kiss.
Mwah. Well, that was a slobbery one. That was a really slobbery one. All right, there you go. I know that that's what many of you show up for. You come here to see the baby. So there's the baby making her appearance on Free Advice Friday for the first time in a while. So there you go. Let's see. Where are we going? Gordon says, I'm currently looking for an accountant. What kinds of things should I be looking for in an accountant? Ooh, that's a good question, because I'll tell you what, Gordon, a good accountant is going to pay for themselves many times over in what they're able to save you on taxes every year. So there's a general feeling that we need to go out and find an accountant that is familiar with the entertainment space. And I don't think that's entirely accurate. I think if you can find that, that's great, but that's not there's not entertainment accountants in most cities in America, right? We're not New York. Everybody doesn't live in New York, Chicago, LA, whatever. So what I think that you really want to be looking for at the very least is an accountant that is familiar with small business, because really at the end of the day, yes, we are in entertainment, but we are a small business. And so finding an accountant that has experience working with small business so that they can help you to maximize all of your potential write-offs, right? And just to clarify, I am not an accountant. This is not financial advice. I can only tell you what works for me and where I'm located. And obviously rules are going to vary from state to state, province to province, country to country. But finding an accountant who's going to help you to find all of those write-offs. A percentage of your home heating bill, your home water bill, your electric bill, your internet bill, your internet bill, things like that, percentage of your insurance potentially, obviously all of your office expenses, any investments that you've made in things like demos and coaching, the amount that you've paid to register your website domain or to get your website hosted or to have somebody build your website for you, all of these sorts of things, all the different software, your subscription for Adobe Audition, your subscription for your CRM, all of these different things are things that ultimately you should be able to write off, and or again, depending on where you live, state to state, country to country, province to province. And so that's where a really good accountant is going to come into the mix. I want to say too, the other thing I think a lot of voice actors get wrong is we assume that we don't need an accountant until we're making money. And the reality is that you want to start with an accountant right out of the gate, because in the beginning of your business, when you're technically losing money, that can help you in your taxes as well, right? You are allowed to operate your business. Again, not a financial expert, not financial advice, but you are allowed to operate your business at a loss up to a certain point, because there's an understanding that there's going to be capital investment, right? So that first year, for example, when you're doing all your coaching and you're doing your demos and you're purchasing all of your studio equipment and you're getting your website up and running, and it's just like you feel like all you're doing is sending money out the door, you still want to be working with an accountant, even though you even though you may not have an actual income. You can still claim those things, take a loss on your business, and that can ultimately save you on your taxes. So, Gordon, I hope that answers your question for you. I would just be looking for somebody that can work with small business. Again, guys, this is Free Advice Friday. If you've got a question for voiceover that you would like to get answered, anything business and marketing related, by all means, type your question into the comments. And I am watching the comments on my screen here. I'm happy to answer any questions for you. Let's see, where are we going next? Don't mind me. I write down time codes so I can reference back to this later. All right. Bob says, I just listened to your book recommendation podcast, and I think I want to look into the book about my relationship with money. Is there anything in particular in the book that changed your thinking? I think this is one of those things where every one of us has a different narrative that we've grown up with around money. And so, there's one person who grew up in a very healthy middle-class family where there was plenty of money to go around, and they got to do all of the things that they wanted to do. And they have one type of relationship with money. But then there may be somebody else who grew up in a lower income family, and all they ever heard was, we can't afford it, and money doesn't grow on trees, and they got told no a lot. And so that changes their relationship with money. And I think these are things that we don't even recognize until someone points them out to us. And so just having a general understanding of how we as human beings interact with money, and how the narratives that we have around money can really impact our success or failure. And I think in this case too, this book was diving into a little bit into some basic investing and saving strategies as well. I think it's really important that this is a subject that I've studied a lot. I've read probably half a dozen different books on the subject of money, and just really trying to undo some of the narratives that I had around money. Because I think for a lot of us, and myself included, when you're growing up, there's this belief that money is a finite resource, right? There's only so much money. And if you are growing up in a household where, mom and dad are working a particular 9-to-5 job, and they are on an hourly wage. And then in that case, you do get to believe that there is only a finite amount of money, because at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, right, the paycheck comes in, that's how much money there is. And once it's gone, it's gone. And so we get into this narrative that says that money is a finite resource, and that you can only ever have so much of it. And I think that's where we all start to get screwed up, because, that's not actually the way it is. And that was a belief that I held on to for a really long time. And when I was finally able to let that belief go, I was really able to unlock my earning potential. And so I just think everybody should read that book. I know that probably doesn't specifically answer your question, Bob, but I would say everybody needs to read that book, because I think that it's going to impact everybody on an individual level based on the stories that you have for yourself around money, and the narratives upon which your money beliefs have been built. And so I think that's why it's going to touch everybody differently. Amy says, I recently switched to Lorraine and the Associates, who is an entertainment accountant who works with a lot of voice actors. Her office is based in New Jersey, New York, but she works via Zoom. And so there you go. There's an option right there for anybody who may be in the market for an accountant who's able to do remotely. That's certainly an option there, Lorraine and the Associates. All right, where are we going now? Andrew says, I've been chasing some LinkedIn leads and can't add the personal note anymore. Any advice on how I can work around that? Or is it just going back to Googling companies and finding their emails? You can actually still add the personal note, Andrew. It's just that LinkedIn has changed the way that it looks a little bit. I'm just going to open up my LinkedIn here for a second, and I'm going to pull up somebody that I'm not connected with. Let's just click on this one here. So I just want to look at it. So when you click onto a new connection, or to somebody that you want to potentially follow on LinkedIn, Lots of people now are using creator mode, and so you won't even see a connect button. You'll just see a follow button, right? The blue button is follow with a plus sign in it. But if you scroll to the right, there's a button that says more. And if you click on more, and then you click on connect, a little box will pop up and it says you can customize this invitation, and then you can choose to add a note. So that's how it works on the desktop version. Let me open it up on my phone just so I know how. I just want to make sure that I'm giving you good instructions on how to do this. On your mobile, it's the three dots. Here's somebody, I know you can't hardly see this right now, but these three dots, there's three dots beside the follow button. And if you click the three dots, I know this is terrible, another screen will pop up and you'll see an option there for personalized invite. And if you click that personalized invite, that's how you can send the personal note. Hopefully that answers your question, Andrew. It is still possible to do that. You just got to do a little bit of digging to find the feature now that they've changed the interface a little bit. Ann says, I listened to your episode, What is Your Exit Strategy, episode 48, and it was such an eye-opener. Thank you for sharing everything you shared. Such a reality check for me. Yeah, that was a good episode. The episode that she's talking about, What is Your Exit Strategy? It's an episode for people who are currently working in a day job of some form or fashion, but are interested in ultimately transitioning from part-time to full-time voiceover. And I just offer a few things to consider, a few tips to consider in order to make that transition from part-time to full-time voice actor, or from full-time day job to full-time voice actor. I'll throw that episode in the chat there for anybody that's interested in checking that out. What is your exit strategy was episode 48. Laura says, when you're visiting a city where you have a client, do you ever reach out to visit in person? That's actually one of the things that's on my list, Laura. I would absolutely love to be able to do that. I know other voice actors who have done it in the past, and sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. Sometimes it's just dropping by the office and bringing some coffees, or maybe it's going out for lunch or drinks or something like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to have that kind of relationship with my clients. I want to be able to feel comfortable knowing that, yeah, you know what, if I'm there, let's go hang out. And I know that there are a couple of clients that I currently work with that would absolutely be open to doing something like that as well. Andrew says, it now asks me how I know the person when I click connect. I wonder if you are clicking on third degree connections, because there are some people that could be part of what's happening, Andrew. When you're clicking on third degree connections, or even secondary degree connections, depending on what their privacy settings are, there's some people that do have settings in their profile that they want to know how you know the individual before the connection request goes out. So I wonder if that could possibly be what's going on. Again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. This is the part of the week where I like to hang out and answer your voiceover business and marketing questions for free on a Friday. It was something that was happening on a weekly basis here on YouTube, but then there was a little bit of a hiccup with my YouTube channel for a while. Now my YouTube channel is back, and so I am back, and so Free Advice Friday is back, and I'm here to answer your questions. So take that into consideration. If you got something you want to ask, don't be shy. Type it in the comments. I'm watching on my screen. Thomas says, hi, Mark. I'm trying to find work as a VO talent. I recently joined SAG-AFTRA, and it's tough to know how to market myself. Is finding an agent the best way to find work? Tough as a union actor. Yeah, Thomas, I would say as a union actor, probably looking for agents is going to be one of the best options for you. So I'm not going to say you can't get your own work if you're union, because you can. I will say that it is more challenging. I also don't want to say that the options that are out there can't be converted to union work, because they can, but it's also a little bit more challenging. And so I think probably looking for agents is going to be the best option for you, at least the easiest option to find the union work. And there's plenty of union work that is coming through agents in the commercial space, the video game space, the animation space in particular. So something to keep in mind. The other thing that I might do if I was in your position was if I'm going to do some of my own direct marketing, I'd probably want to focus on areas where union is more a little bit more prevalent, right? So the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the LAs, things of that nature, cities where the union tends to be a little bit stronger and where union jobs may be a little bit more plentiful. So larger centers would be something else that I would be looking out for as well. Amy says, Bob and Mark, I also highly recommend Jody Carter's financial insight training program created specifically for actors. There you go. One of the things that you have to understand as a VOpreneur is you are the money person. Unless you are hiring a CFO, right? Unless you are hiring a chief financial officer, you are responsible for the money. That means you are responsible for the invoicing. You are responsible for keeping track of your expenses. You are responsible for collecting payments. And you are also responsible for making sure that your dollars are invested wisely. And I don't just mean invested in the stock market or invested in a savings account. I mean, before you hire a coach, before you sign up for a training program, before you purchase a piece of equipment, before you go with a particular demo producer, are you investing your money in a way that is going to return maximum potential on that investment, right? These are all things that you need to be thinking about. And that's where, for anybody that has a messed up relationship with money or that has confused narratives about money, that's where you have to be very, very careful. And so I think that, again, that comes back to the book recommendation that I made. For those of you that did not catch that episode, let me just throw it in the chat here. It was summer book recommendations. It was last week's episode of the podcast, and one of the books was The Psychology of Money, which I know you're thinking this has nothing to do with voiceover, but I'm actually telling you, nope, it has everything to do with voiceover. We all need to be good stewards of the money that we are blessed with, and I really do believe that the smarter that we are, the greater our earning potential becomes, right? So be careful. Will says the stock market maybe isn't wise lately. Just don't invest in the cruise lines. Not a financial expert, not financial advice, but don't invest in the cruise lines. They're going to bounce back, they said. Everybody's going to go cruising, they said. No, not yet. Not yet. Getting hurt on that one. What else can I help you guys with? What can I answer for you? What questions do you have for Free Advice Friday? Is there something you want to know, business and marketing related? Please don't be shy. Type it in the comments. I am absolutely happy to answer any questions that you may have. After Free Advice Friday is done, by the way, for those of you that are maybe just coming back into the YouTube channel because of the fact that it was gone for a few weeks, a couple new videos that have been posted into the channel recently. This week was the best way to send voiceover files, so you can check that video out. Last week was sending out vacation notices. Summer series Marc sending out vacation notices, and one of the things anybody that's doing voiceover for any length of time knows that the second you go on vacation is generally when everybody comes out of the woodwork and needs a voiceover. And so that's why I think it's a really smart idea to send vacation notices. So you can check out that video as well. So a few new videos on the YouTube channel you can go back and check out after this episode. On the other hand, if you don't already hold cruise stock, buying at the bottom is always smart. Yeah, my fear is that for at least one of them, the bottom may actually be bankruptcy. And so that's where it becomes a little bit of a problem. There's been a lot of butt puckering over the last 2 or 3 days as I'm listening to analyst reports. Roxanne says, have you hired someone to assist with your marketing efforts, or are you doing it all on your own? For example, keeping your website up to date, scheduling and producing newsletters, etc. Really great question, Roxanne. For me personally, I have hired a lead generator. I've worked with a lead generator in the past, continue to work with a lead generator. So that is the individual that goes out and builds the spreadsheet for me, right? They do the grunt work research, because that's always been the most time-consuming aspect of my self-marketing. So having somebody to do that side of things for me has made my life a lot easier. I still send the emails. I still do the social media interactions myself. That said, I know some voice actors who have outsourced their social media. working with a social media manager, which I think can be really smart if you are in a financial position to do it. But I would say definitely lead generation is probably one of the easiest places to outsource. Probably one of the easiest to train someone. Probably one of the most affordable to outsource as well. And so I've also hired in the past. I've hired people for some graphic design assistance. Putting together documents and things like that that I know I could do, but is it the best use of my time? Not always. If I can hire somebody else to do it for me. So that's something else that I've outsourced in the past as well. Will says, do you have any specific tips on sourcing a good lead generator? The biggest thing for hiring a good lead generator is that they can only do as good of a job as the information that you provide them with. If you go on to a site like Upwork, for example, and you do a job post for a lead generation expert, and you say, I need you to find voiceover leads for me. And at the end of the week, they come back with a spreadsheet filled full of voice actors. Whose fault is it? Is it their fault or is it your fault? Well, it's your fault because you told them I need voiceover leads and you didn't specify what that meant. And so they can only do as good of a job as the information they're given to work with. So I think if you're going to work with a lead generator and you want to find somebody who is good, part of that responsibility is not only their ability, it is your instruction. So when I'm working with the lead generator, I try to give very, very specific instructions. This is the Google search that I want you to conduct. These are the types of companies that we are looking for. Here's a list of job titles that I want you to find for me. Here's a list of the social media profiles that I would like you to get. I also would require you to find an email address and to find a company mailing address and to find a telephone number. And so giving them very, very specific instructions makes a difference. And I would also say batching it out, at least initially. And what I mean by that is hire them to do a bulk number of leads, but don't get them to do them all at once. So hire somebody to do 100 leads, but start with the first 10. So they're going to go out and they're going to find the first 10 based on the instructions that you've given them. And then you're going to sit down with them and you're going to look over those 10 leads and you're going to say, these ones are good. Here's why. These ones are bad. Here's why. And then you're going to readjust your search criteria a little bit and then go out and get them to do the search all over again. And you'll just repeat that process a couple of times until you feel confident that they've got it under control. They know what they're doing. They know what they're looking for. And then you can set them free. And so I think it definitely takes some time to train a lead generator to do a good job. But once you have them trained, I mean, the guy that I've been working with has been doing lead generation for me for probably 3 or 4 years now. And so, I went through in the beginning, I spent the first month, really working with them on a weekly basis to make sure that he understood what he was looking for and there was no questions or no confusion. And that is an investment, a time investment that's paid off in the long term. Now, does that mean that he never makes a mistake? No, of course, there's always mistakes, but that's fine. We sit down, we talk about why that happened, and then we try to figure out, here's how to course correct. Let's make sure that we vet leads this way or that way or whatever. So I think that's the trick to sourcing a good lead generator, is just making sure that you can be a good teacher first and foremost. And then I think looking for their qualifications as well. I mean, there literally is a job title category on Upwork for lead generation expert. And you're going to be able to tell by some of the tools and the resources that they have, maybe Premium LinkedIn or Hunter or Rocket Reach, Crunchbase, Zoom Info, all these different business databases, right? So some of the tools that they have, I think, will give you clues as to whether or not they're doing this full time or they're really good at it. So I'd pay attention to that as well. It's a really interesting question, though, and it's one that I work with voice actors a lot with in coaching sessions, just helping them to get better with working with their lead generator. Sean says, I was recently asked for a rate card from someone I connected with on LinkedIn. I don't have one and can't seem to find a good example of one. Do you use one? And not just a link to the GVAA. Great question, Sean, because I'll tell you what, the more that you do marketing, the more that people are going to ask you this question. They're going to ask you to send a rate card. My response is the same every single time. And it is basically, I don't have a generic rate card because I want to make sure that my clients are always getting the most fair rate for the project that we are working on. So that's how I spin it, right? I want to give you I want to make sure you're getting the most fair rate. And so for that reason, I will always quote on a project by project basis based on things such as project length, project usage, project type, et cetera, et cetera. And some people are okay with that and some people aren't. Now, there are certain times when I will make an exception. If I'm working with an instructional designer and the only thing that we're going to be working on is e-learning, then I have no problem giving them a generic rate card, so to speak, for e-learning, right? I tell them what my rates are. If I'm working with a company that I'm only doing animated explainer videos for, then I can compile a rate for them or a rate card for them that's, an explainer up to 90 seconds is this much, up to 2 minutes is this much, up to 3 minutes is this much, up to 4 minutes is this much, or whatever. Where I try to be more careful, though, is when I'm working with production companies that do that have a broader scope. And so I could be working on a corporate video. I could be working on a training project. I could be working on a commercial. I could be working on a web video of some form or fashion. And so for those ones, I always want to make sure that I'm quoting on a project by project basis. So I don't know if that specifically answers your question, Sean, but that's kind of the workaround that I use. Rather than providing with a general rate card, I try to find out more about the project, right? Use that as an opportunity to ask a few qualifying questions. Is there a particular project that you had in mind? What type of work are you generally doing? Are you looking for a rate for a specific usage, or don't be afraid to ask some qualifying questions. And I think voice actors tend to be afraid to ask those questions because we feel like if we're asking too many questions, we're going to lose the job. And my whole thing is, if I can't get some simple answers from them, then is it really somebody that I want to be working with in the first place, right? So don't ever be afraid to ask those qualifying questions. Hope that answers your question, Sean. It's an important one because it's something that you're going to see a lot. And so having a response for that is going to be really helpful. Laura says, I suspect some lead gens are recycling the same list, which is absolutely a distinct possibility. Assuming we're not getting someone referred by other voice actors, is there any way of making sure that these guys are doing original research? I don't think there's any way of making sure they're doing original research, but my response back to that would be, what difference does it make? And what I mean by that is they're going to go and they're going to do a Google search for explainer video production company. And they're just going to start working their way through the pages of Google results, right? Which means that every single person on planet Earth, whether they are a professional lead generator or they are a professional voice actor, we're all going to come across the same leads ultimately, right? Because we're all going to do it. We're all going to go about it the same way, doing Google searches. So do I need to have unique lists, or do I just need someone to do all of the background work for me so that I can save time and just start reaching out to people? That's the thing, right? I know that other voice actors are going to be marketing to these places because they're finding the same production companies that I'm finding, right? If every one of us right now, there's 22 people watching this broadcast right now. If every one of us went and did a Google search for corporate video production, what are we going to do? We're all going to start with the first 10 results on Google, right? So the question then is, what's more important? Unique results or me not having to get the results myself? And so for me, it's not having to get the results myself, right? Laura says it does matter because too many leads complain that they receive too many unsolicited emails from voice actors. Not sure if that can be avoided. It absolutely can't be avoided, but I think one of the things that you can do is make sure that you're sending good emails. I think that's a big part of it too, right? I've reached out to leads in the past who have responded to me saying, I get so many emails from voice actors on a daily basis, but this email was actually good. And so it makes a difference, right? There could be 1,000 voice actors marketing to the same company, but they don't all sound like you. Maybe they don't all have a professional website. Maybe they don't all have professional demos. Maybe they're sending generic form emails that are just, triggering spam, right? You don't know. And so at the end of the day, I'm focused on finding good people, sending good emails, making a very clear benefit statement to them so that they know what's in it for them. And that's one of the things that I mean, those are the things that are within my control. And so those are the things that I focus on. I mean, you're right. It is a challenge. I mean, the only other thing that I could think of would be like, instead of starting on page 1 of Google, start on page 10, right? But then you're going to miss out potentially on a lot of really good companies. And so that's the trade-off. I also think, and Will says here, I imagine all you can do to avoid that is to be specific about targeting, send as relevant email as possible. And I think targeting is definitely a big part of it too, right? Focus on certain geographic regions, right? Maybe instead of just doing the general search, focus on doing searches that are geographically closer to you. Or, instead of focusing all your efforts in the United States, for example, maybe it's time to do some marketing in Europe, European countries where English is spoken, for example. That might be one of the other ways around it as well. And see there what Will says. I had a response to an email last year saying that they get a ton of cold emails, but they responded to me because I actually spent time to research them. And that's it. That's why I teach personalization. And a lot of voice actors disagree with me. And a lot of voice actors don't do specifically what I teach them. I work with them in coaching sessions. They pay me $150 for an hour of my time so I can teach them how to do this. And then they just go and send generic emails anyway because it's faster. Yep, it's faster, but it does not produce the same kind of results. Personalization is absolutely key in all of this, for sure. You do not want to come across as generic. You do not want to come across as spammy. You do not want to come across as salesy. And even more so now because there is a larger pool of competition. And there are more people that are sending emails. And so you have to be that much better than everybody else in how you approach it. What else? What time is it? 1:46. I could stick around for a few more minutes, answer a few more questions if there's anything you guys want to ask. Some great questions today, some great discussion. Always enjoy it. One of the reasons why I love doing this is because it keeps me sharp too. When you ask your questions and I've got to sit here and think up what my answers are going to be, it helps to keep me sharp as well. So thank you for that. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate you bringing your questions. Thank you. What can I answer for you? If there's something that you want to talk about, this is your opportunity. For those of you that are jumping in late, welcome to Free Advice Friday. This is just me hanging out on YouTube, answering your voiceover business and marketing questions for free on a Friday. That's it. Not rocket science here. If there's something you'd like to talk about, if there's a question you'd like to ask, something you want to get answered, this is your opportunity to do it. Type it into the comments. I'm keeping an eye on those, and I'm happy to answer questions for you. On the subject of lead generation, by the way, since we are talking about it, let me mention I do have a masterclass, which is called 101 Ways to Find Voiceover Leads. And one of the reasons why I put this session together is because I get asked all the time where to look for leads. And because so many people are doing the same thing, that is to say they're going onto Google and doing a search for explainer video production, or going into Google and doing a search for corporate video production, I do think that there's a case to be made for reaching out to leads in non-traditional places. And sometimes I think that we limit ourselves by assuming that we can only find leads by doing Google searches. And that is absolutely not the case. And so to prove that point, I actually created a 2-hour masterclass called 101 Ways to Find Voiceover Leads. By the time I was done the class, I actually ended up at 122 ways. And so if you're interested in checking out that masterclass, I just threw the link in the chat there. It's literally 122 different ways that you could find voiceover leads for yourself. And I promise you that there are things in that list that no other voice actor is doing. There are things in that list that will absolutely bring you some unique leads and some unique opportunities. So check that out. The link is in the chat there, 101 Ways to Find Voiceover Leads. That's a masterclass that if you sign up now, you'll get instant access to the class. You can start watching the video this afternoon, and you will have some new lead generation ideas by the time it is done 2 hours later. Roxanne says demos. Do you keep your VoiceZam demos to standard short length? Sometimes producers want to download traditional demos. What do you do? So VoiceZam actually gives you the ability to do both. So I upload the tracks individually, but it does give you the option to download the demo as a whole. So I definitely think that you still want to have an option there for people to download the demo as a whole. I love the way that VoiceZam breaks up the demos. I think it's really helpful when people are looking for a very specific read that they can just kind of click through and look for that one specific read. But I can tell you from personal experience, when I have helped clients with casting, there are times when I go to voice actor websites and I just need to be able to download your demo. And if I can't download your whole demo, I'm going to pass on you for the project just because it's a pain in the butt for me to download individual clips and piece them all together. So there is a way in VoiceZam, though, that they can download the whole thing. So definitely keep that in mind. Catherine says, hey, Mark, how often do you update your follow-up class? About to invest in it. Follow-up Academy was done in the fall of last year. There really hasn't been a whole lot that has changed in that one. So there's been no update to that at this point because I don't really have anything to update on it. That being said, Catherine, if you purchase Follow-up Academy, let's just say that, I don't know, this fall, I decide to do an update on it, you will get access to the update. That goes for any of my master classes. Anybody that's ever purchased the LinkedIn class, we're on like version 4 of my LinkedIn class now. So if anybody, purchased the original one, you've had access to, I think, 4 different updates over the years. And that, I just want you to have good information. That's all. So once you purchase it, if there's updates, you'll get access to it. All right. Follow-Up Academy, by the way, for those of you that are wondering, Follow-Up Academy is another masterclass that I offer. And that is about a 2-hour masterclass that is designed to help you with the strategy of following up. So a lot of voice actors are really good at sending out the original email. But then what happens after the original email? We all know that success is in the follow-up, that we need to keep ourselves top of mind with people. But the question is, what do I say? How do I stay top of mind? How do I do it without being annoying? And so that's what Follow-Up Academy is all about. If you want to check that class out, just through the link in the chat for that one as well. All righty. Thomas says, going back to agent questions, have you found with your clients that taking classes at places like Actors Connection, One-on-One, etc., has been productive in getting a union agent? Other suggestions? I am not actually represented by a union agent at this point. And for me personally, I don't have any interest in going into the union. At this point, it just doesn't fit with my business model. All the work that I'm doing is non-union, and all the work that I'm interested in pursuing is non-union. So for me to go out and look for a union opportunity at this point, it just wouldn't make any sense. I think if you are focused on areas like commercial, if you're focused on video games, if you're focused on animation and things of that nature, looking to move towards the union would absolutely make sense for you if you're wanting to work in that space. I do think that one of the things that you can do is taking advantage of some of the different classes that are being offered, but I would say watch for opportunities to get in front of those agents. So for example, Ann Ganguza, VO Peeps, great organization, and does some incredible classes, some great webinars and workshops. Every once in a while, she will bring in a guest agent who will speak for a little while, do some teaching, and then give people in the class an opportunity to read for them. I think that's one of the ways that you could definitely go about getting on the radar. So watching for, if there's some particular agents that you're interested in getting signed with, or at least interested in getting in front of, watch for opportunities to do that through training organizations like the ones you mentioned, or Gravy for the Brain, VO Peeps, Global Voice Acting Academy, right? These are all ones that offer those things. Conferences as well. One Voice Conference is coming up in Dallas here at the end of August. VO Atlanta, obviously happening next year in March. Those are really great opportunities to get face-to-face with some pretty reputable agents as well. So that's something else that I would keep in mind as another strategy for getting on their radar for sure. Rich says, professional business communication is always done best when there is a personal touch. Nobody wants to do business with a robot. Amen, Rich. Amen. You are speaking my language. All right, everyone. Where are we at? We got 5 minutes left. I got time for one more question. one more question on Free Advice Friday. Again, thank you so much for coming, for hanging out, for asking your questions. The replay of this will be available when the video or when the session is done, and I will go back through as well and add to my notes. From my notes, I will add in the chapters of some of the different things that we talked about, the questions that were asked. So you can, if you don't want to go back and watch the whole 1 hour broadcast, you can certainly click through chapters and go to specific questions or specific subjects that we talked about. So I will do that as well. So that'll be available probably, it usually takes YouTube a couple hours to make the stream available again, but it will be there. And of course, previous Free Advice Friday streams are available on my YouTube channel, and there's 200 and some odd videos. Actually, let me check my voiceover tips playlist. VoiceOver Tips playlist has 235 videos in it. So lots of advice there. 160 some odd episodes of the podcast as well. So lots of stuff going on there. Looking at my calendar, I do think I will probably be able to do Free Advice Friday next week. I was supposed to be going on vacation starting next Friday, but that's been bumped by a day. So I will probably be around on Friday. So hopefully we can do another one of these Free Advice Fridays next week as well. All right, last question of the day. Jenna says, still struggling with the personalized opener for some companies. Can you default to just complimenting them on their show reel? Or I was researching companies in the Southwest and found your site. I think, Jenna, don't overthink this. Find one thing on the website. Comment on a specific video. Maybe they've won awards. Maybe they've been in business for a certain number of years. Maybe geographically you have a connection. Maybe you read on their services page that they offer voiceover services. So you already know right out of the gate that they offer voiceover services because they mentioned it. Just look for one thing on the page that you can comment on. I wish that there was a better word for personalization. I haven't figured it out yet, because I think sometimes when we think personalization, we think that we've got to really kind of make it personal to the individual. But that's not the case. It's personalized to the company, personalized to the recipient in that way. So by commenting on something that you've read, something that you've watched, something that they've shared on social media, something that they've written in their website, anything like that, by commenting on that right out of the gate, it immediately shows them that if nothing else, you actually have been on their website and you did take a minute to research them a little bit, and you did take a minute to get to know them before you just fired off another generic form letter. And so that's the sort of stuff that I would be looking out for. I would be cautious of, you mentioned, like, I was researching companies in the Southwest and found your site. That's where it starts to sound generic, right? Oh, here we go. She's researching companies in the Southwest and she's sent an email to every single one of them. So I would leave stuff like that out. Oh, I just happened across your website, or, I found you while I was doing a Google search, or, things of that nature. I would leave that out because it immediately tells them that you're just out there searching and emailing. So it eliminates the personal feel to it, even if you do throw in a compliment or a comment on something from their website. So I'd be cautious of language like that to start out with. Just get right to whatever the nice thing is that you want to say, or whatever the video is you want to comment on, or the fact, the figure, the statistic, the copy that they've used, whatever it is that you're going to use. Just get right to that right out of the gate. Really good question. Don't overthink the personalization element. One of the things that I always say with introductory email marketing, if you get a 10 to 15% response rate, you're doing okay. So what are we talking about? We're saying for every 100 emails that you send, 10 or 15 of them are going to get responded to. If you're really doing a great job with your targeting and you're writing really, really great emails, can you get that number up to 20 or 25%? Sure, you can. But that still means that 80% of the emails that you're writing aren't doing anything. They're not getting read. They're not getting open. They're not getting responded to. And so we want to spend time on these emails so that we're personalizing them. We want them to have that touch, but we don't want to spend so much time that we're ultimately wasting time because of the number of emails that are probably never going to get open and read. And so just keep that in mind as well. We want to work on finding that balance. All right, everyone. Thank you. I got to jump out. I got some stuff I got to get done this afternoon, but as always, it's been fun to hang out with you. We will do it again sometime. Make sure you check out the new episode of the podcast at VOpreneur.com. And if you are interested in checking out any of those masterclasses that I was mentioning in this episode, if you need help with lead generation, 101 ways to find VO leads, I promise you it is going to give you some good ideas. The link is in the chat there as well, but you can find any of my course and coaching offerings at marcscottcoaching.com. So check that out as well. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. For any of the Canadians that are watching, happy Canada Day. And for all of my American friends, happy 4th of July. I know it's coming up here as well. So have a fun, safe, happy, healthy weekend. And then go find some leads.